Coming up on Tech News today, while Apple's good revenue is bad news, Google's secret wireless project, and Twitter's new Instagram for video. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, January 24th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT1. And they recently launched a developer platform for complete code control. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Aya Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And Sarah Lane out for one more day recovering from her car accident. She's doing fine, but she'll be resting up at home. Hopefully, we'll get her back tomorrow. Let's start off the show with the top 10 stories of the day in the news feeds. Apple announced their Q1 earnings yesterday, setting another round of records with $54 billion of revenue, earnings of $13.81 a share. Apple also reported record iPad sales of 22.9 million, record iPhone sales of 47.8 million, and Wall Street responded accordingly by pushing the stock down for not being as awesome as Wall Street expected. Apple's shares were down 10% this morning.
Nokia announced it's doing something it hasn't done in a long time. It's profitable again. The company announced a 202 million euro profit, which is its first quarterly profit in almost 2 years. Lumia sales were up to 4.4 million compared to 2.9 million in the previous quarter. All this good news means that Nokia shares dropped as much as 8.4% in trading.
The fallout from Sony's disastrous April 2011 PlayStation Network outage hasn't ended yet. You'd think it'd be over by now, but the UK's Information Commissioner's Office has fined the company £250,000 for, quote, a serious breach of the Data Protection Act. David Smith, Deputy Commissioner and Director of Data Protection, said Sony should have known better.
Twitter's officially unveiled its video service called Vine. Right now, you can get Vine for iOS, which lets you create videos that can be no longer than 6 seconds. Since Twitter owns Vine, Vine videos linked in tweets will appear in the tweet as auto-playing but muted video.
Google has asked the FCC for a license to build an experimental radio service on its Mountain View campus using the 2,524 to 2,652 megahertz range. That spectrum is being used in China, Brazil, and Japan to construct new wireless mobile networks, causing a lot of speculation. Clearwire holds the license for that spectrum in the U.S., but no consumer handsets currently work with that range.
What is the most used mobile app in the United States? Tom, any guesses?
Vine.
No, of course not. According to ComScore, it's Facebook, which now has the most popular mobile app in the U.S. by garnering 85.5 million monthly unique users. Google Maps was the old number one, but Maps took a dive when iOS got rid of the app by default. However, Maps is still around 75 million uniques as of December 2012.
Google released its transparency report on Wednesday showing government requests for user information. The U.S. led the way by far with more than 8,400 requests for nearly 15,000 accounts, way in front of India, the country with the next most requests. Google said it complied with 88% of the requests and, unlike many companies, often requires a warrant, not just a subpoena, especially if the request is for the content of email.
You know, I've got a soft spot for Logitech's Harmony remotes, but you know who doesn't? Logitech. Logitech's third quarter earnings say the company will be selling off its remote control and digital video security divisions. Logitech reported an operating loss of $180 million for its third quarter.
Netflix surprised markets with a strong fourth quarter, well above analyst expectations. The company announced $945 million in revenue for the quarter, up from $876 million last year, $10 million ahead of analyst expectations. Earnings were 13 cents a share, down from 64 cents a share last year, but above the 12 cents a share expected. Best news was the addition of 2 million U.S. subscribers compared to 220,000 last year, and a rise of 1.8 million subs overseas. Netflix stock jumped more than 30% this morning.
Amazon just acquired text-to-speech company Ivona Software. The two companies have worked together in the past. Ivona's products like Voice Guide and Text-to-Speech are actually in the Kindle Fire. The terms of the acquisition were not disclosed.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. I use them. You can try them out for free. Here's why. Squarespace gives you the best mobile experience. They automatically have the template respond if it knows it's on a smaller screen and adapt accordingly. They resize your images into 7 different versions when you upload them so that they fit in those mobile responsive templates and look right. It's also fast and easy to use. Beautiful templates, 100% drag and drop functionality for all customization tools. New page builder tool. You got to try that out. It's called Layout Engine. It enables you to customize pages in seconds. You just add blocks of content. You want photos? Add a block of photos. Add videos, add text, social media content, and then you immediately preview the layout as you go, making it even easier to build a site. They have great social media integration, exceptionally well-designed templates, going to make you look like a pro while you focus on the content. Squarespace integrates all your website needs: domains, design, development, hosting, customer support. It's like you got a team of 100 web folks in there working for you. It doesn't cost that much, though. It's a unified service, making it faster and easier than ever to create a high-quality website, blog, or online portfolio. But like I said, try it out for free if you don't believe me, or even if you do believe me, go try it. No need to pay right out. Go try it for free. Squarespace.com. No credit card needed. Just try it out. Start building your website, or import your current website maybe just to see how it looks. And if you decide to purchase Squarespace, use the offer code TNT1 and get 10% off your purchases on new accounts. That's squarespace.com. Use that offer code TNT1. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. And we thank Squarespace for their support of Tech News Today. All right, let's start in talking about these Apple earnings. Apple shares declined 30% over the last 3 months, so a lot of attention focused on the earnings report yesterday. As we mentioned, record revenue. They beat their own estimates. Apple's always pretty conservative with their estimates. Revenue of $54 billion, that's record-setting. They sold a lot of iPhones. They sold a lot of iPads. In fact, 47.8 million iPhones is close to the 48 million Wall Street expected. They sold more, about right amount of iPads. Wall Street expected 22 to 23 million. They sold 22.9. Fewer Macs, but it's the post-PC era, but they were about 1 million short of what Wall Street wanted them to sell in Macs. And 12.7 million iPads, which actually exceeded the 12 million expected. So here's my question. Why is Apple stock down today? Danny, do you have an explanation for this? Thoughts or theories?
Well, I thought Dan Frommer over at SplatF had done a really good job. He charted out a lot of the figures. So he looked at the revenue, right? And the revenue is more billions than they've ever had before. And he looked at the profit, and the profit is even up over the past few quarters and so on. You look at the revenue by product category, iPhone is up, and the Mac is, going down a little bit, but you've got bigger chunks that are coming in from things like iPad. But I thought the key thing that he had in there was his growth year over year. And you see that like in December 2011, 75% growth. Then it drops down the following quarter to like around 60. And then it drops down to 25. And then it stays at 25. And now it's at 20. So, you're only doing 20% growth in billions of dollars. We're not happy enough. We want more 75. And I suspect that the investors are going to have to get into the idea that Apple, kind of like Google before it at one point, is going to be more of a normal company. That at some point, there's some saturation to the number of devices that we want to buy or the amount of growth that you're going to have. And, I think it's just going to be harder for it to do that unless it comes along and introduces some, revolutionary new product that opens up a market that nobody ever had before. And then maybe you can match that kind of growth again. But that seems to be what the case is, that they want much, much more growth than they're seeing.
Of course, I just realized Jason just very politely nudged me in the dock. I forgot to introduce Danny, editor-in-chief of Search Engine Land. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry about that. But yeah,
another random person will be here.
Sorry, I at least on the video we have your name below you. But I saw that article you're talking about as well, and it feels like that is definitely what's going on here. And the first reaction a lot of people may have is, oh, well, Wall Street's a joke, and they just want constant crazy growth. But the fact of the matter is Apple's share price was so high, it was predicated on the fact that you would continue to get 50 to 75% growth. And I don't know that anybody really expected that to last forever. But of course, the share price is going to come back down closer to earth once that growth stabilizes. So the question is, Is Apple in trouble, or is this just natural? I mean, you're going to have these cycles of growth and spurts. And in fact, if this is their retrenchment and they're still 20% growth, is it actually a good thing for this company? Or are we on that post-jobs decline that people were afraid might happen? Ayaz, what do you think?
I think it's kind of early to tell with that, and I think that's one of the reasons why the stock price is a little bit volatile, considering how Apple has been in the past, because people aren't sure where it is. Is this going to be a trend, or are things going to be back the way it was when Jobs was in charge? I was taking a look at another article. I was looking at how Apple's gross margins were lower than they were expected. It seems like Apple's always been really good at selling hardware at a really good profit margin. They're premium products. They position them as such. But if that profit margin starts getting diminished, at some point, that sounds scary. I would especially think in the light of Tim Cook being in charge. If their margins aren't as high as they used to be, well, what's going on there? It seems like a bunch of the business relationships they've had and the moves they've made in technology might make their products a little bit more expensive than they previously were at cost. And so their margins are down. But I'm thinking over time, as they continue to get things like Retina displays and adding those things to MacBook Pros, those costs will come down as the technology catches up to that process.
Do they need a new star product, though? Because one of the things that brought their stock up into the stratosphere was the iPhone, followed by the iPad, two big hit products. Danny, do they have to come up with continually new hit products? Or is Ayaz right? They just keep revving the stuff and move forward?
I think that to have this sudden phenomenal growth, if the inventors are looking for 75% to come back again, they probably do need something that's radical and new and that lots and lots of people are wanting to have. I mean, I think one of the challenges they have now is like, when the iPhone 5 came out, you still had the iPhone 4 that was there, and I think you still had another iPhone behind that, so you had lots and lots of options. And, it's not as compelling a buy. I mean, the iPhone 5 I went for because it was LTE and I wanted a slightly larger screen, but wasn't that different from some of the other iPhones that were already out there. And they're doing that in a space where what has surprised me when I've talked with a couple people is, this demand for things like the Nexus 4. When the Nexus 4 came out, I was looking at it thinking, well, there's no LTE on it. Why would I bother with this? But my niece is like, this is great because it's a $300 phone. I'm not locked into a contract. And I know another person's daughter who's about the same age. They're both about 21, 22. They're the same way. They're like, I want a cheap phone that's an awesome phone that's not locking me into a contract. And, that was one of the things that's offering. And I think that, to compete with that, I think it starts cutting into some of their profit model or their margin on that they can do these incremental changes. They can keep selling it. But I think they'll continue to be this incredibly valuable business. I just don't know that they get that kind of growth without some kind of new, radically different product.
Yeah, and as a few people in the chat room pointed out, and lots of analysts have pointed out today, the price-to-earnings ratio of the stock, which starts to get really into financial news more than tech news, but is not that crazy. So it's not overvalued anymore, and some people are even saying, well, this is the time to buy while it's getting punished a little for these trends. So it's hard to say that this is bad news for Apple, but we do need to see something new from them, I think, in some way. Let's move on to talking about Google applying for an FCC wireless spectrum. Is Google going to become a phone carrier, Ayaz?
Nothing is certain just yet. The reports came out last night. Google's building an experimental wireless network. Last week, Google submitted an application to the FCC. They asked for an experimental license to create an experimental radio service with a 2-mile radius covering Google's headquarters. Now, the network would run on the 2.5 gigahertz band, and it'd be using wireless frequencies that are controlled by Clearwire. Stephen Crowley, a wireless engineer, says the only reason to use these frequencies is if you have business designs on some mobile service. That's what Crowley said. But according to CNET sources, sources tell CNET that the testing is just that, and at this time, the search giant has no plans to deliver a consumer-facing service with the spectrum. Danny, what do you think Google's trying to pull here? Are they just doing internal tests, or are they going to be doing something wild?
It's probably more testing at the moment. I mean, we had all that excitement before when they were getting the white space license, and there was the devices that they were going to test, and then all with the FCC. We're still waiting around for something to emerge from that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they decide that they want to experiment with this sort of thing for their own campus as one of those big picture moonshot types of things that they're experimenting down the line. Do the frequencies? I didn't catch. Do the frequencies that they're using work with some of the existing phones that we have out there already, or you have to have a new phone, new device, complete new receiver?
I believe the article said that most popular devices don't run on this spectrum, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any.
Yeah, but that'll be one of the challenges, though, I think that they face, is that even if they, their first challenge, of course, will be, when I heard it, I thought, okay, so Google's going to come up with a new wireless that they want to run around the campus, their own campus, and then maybe that'll springboard off of things that go with it from there. But what a challenge to, even if they get it working and it succeeds, you've got to go out and start getting that across all sorts of places, and you have to have the devices that back up and support it, and that's a tough thing to do.
Tom, you having any dreams of a Nexus wireless service from Google?
Yeah, I think this is why companies like to keep things secret. And in this case, they couldn't because they had to apply for an FCC license, because it makes jokers like us speculate about what they're up to. But in reality, if you are like Google and you have a research lab, and it certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility that you might want to have the capability to run a wireless network, or at the very least just know a little more detail about the operations of a wireless network, you're going to set up an experimental one on your campus. You've got a huge campus. You got a lot of people to test it. Why wouldn't you do this? It doesn't mean that Google even knows what they're going to do down the line. They may have ideas about extending Google Fiber into having a wireless supplement for its customers. It may be that they're talking to Dish about teaming up on some kind of mobile wireless network. There's a lot of speculation about that. But I don't think they even know what they're going to end up doing with this. It just seems like a good idea. Like, hey, you know what? We've got cash. We've got really great people to experiment. We have Vint Cerf on the campus. We got lots of brains. Let's try this out. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, based on all the older rumors about Google potentially working with Dish, and then Dish trying to buy Clearwire or a piece of Clearwire, and the fact that this would run on part of Clearwire's band, that's when people started trying to put all these things together. What would they do? And because they're Google, like you're saying, Tom, they might not even know what they're doing. They might just try to be doing everything at once, because that's not unusual for Google. Like, they have, Chrome OS and Android. They just decide to do whatever they want, and they're like spaghetti against the wall. That's what they do. I wouldn't surprise me if they're thinking about doing a consumer-facing service at some point, because Google is I'm sure they're pretty sick of dealing with wireless carriers when it comes to phones. That's why they have a Nexus line. They don't like updating Android that way. And if they can come up with, they already have fiber to certain cities, why not with a wireless service at some point?
If only they had a device maker that could make them some handsets that work on that.
Like Nexus Qs? No, wait, that's not a handset.
God, they really weren't thinking ahead on that. They should take a look at maybe buying somebody or something.
Yeah, somebody who maybe isn't top of the market, but they could get some patents out of the deal as well.
Maybe Nokia or something like that.
Nice setup, actually. We got lots of earnings to talk about this week, and Nokia is the next one on the docket here. Good news, actually, for Nokia. Finally, operating profit for the first time since the first quarter of 2011. So Stephen Elop's plan finally bearing fruit. 8.04 billion euros, 439 million euros in profit, 2.3 billion euro loss for its overall performance in 2012. But the last quarter finally ticked back up. Now, the bulk of the revenue is apparently coming from the Nokia Siemens arm, which is their networking arm. But the devices and services section of the company, which is where the mobile phones are, was profitable. Mobile device sales dropped unit-wise 24% from 113.5 million last year to 86.3 million this year. But the average cost went up. They sold 4.4 million Lumias in Q4. That's 14.3 million Lumias to date, 700,000 of those in North America. And since February, Nokia has been getting 250 million a quarter from Microsoft. They got that 250 million from Microsoft. They're going to get it again next quarter. But Nokia, in a footnote, said that for the first time, the royalties they're paying back to Microsoft, which are based on the number of handsets they sell, are more than the 250 million support payment they're getting from Microsoft. So that may sound like a bad thing. They're paying out more than they're getting from Microsoft, but it's actually a good thing, because it means that that subsidy Microsoft is paying is now paying off to Microsoft, and that they want that to keep going up and up and up. Do we think Nokia is out of the woods yet, though? Ayaz, what do you
I think it's definitely a good
heavy woods.
I think they're on solid footing. I don't know if they're out of the woods yet. But the thing with Nokia is that they're profitable. They've been cutting, I think the revenue is down compared to previous quarters or previous years. But the thing is, they've been cutting so many different divisions. They've been firing 10,000 people. They've done a lot of things to cut costs. So they're profitable because they've cut a ton of costs. But the question is, will their mobile devices continue to grow? Because quarter over quarter, the Lumia is sold better. And I think they have enough, Nokia has enough of a push. And I think a bit of a hook when it comes to being Microsoft's, best friend when it comes to Windows Phone. They have these really cool lenses. They have the AR stuff that they're trying to push. I think that right now they are really excited that there's actually Windows Phone competition out there because their phones pretty stand out in the first place, and it shows that market was a good idea to get into.
So good news for Nokia. How good a news do you think it is, Danny?
Well, as long as Samsung doesn't release the Galaxy S Windows Phone 8.5, they probably, they have a market. I mean, they have become, largely synonymous with Windows Phone in the way that Samsung has become largely synonymous with Android. And, there's interest in there. You've got Microsoft pushing Windows Phone all over the place. But, in the end, they really still seem to be hitched up to this strong challenge that's got to go out there. I mean, Windows Phone is still far, far back from, I think in people's minds from iOS or from Android. And, maybe there's a business in there. Maybe that will keep them going. I don't think Windows Phone is going to go away. But, if Windows Phone really does pick up as a platform, then I don't think the other handset makers are going to just say, well, okay, I guess you do it. I mean, you have HTC that's already out there with Windows Phone devices. I do think Samsung introduced one. Maybe they get into it more seriously. And so that competition will be great for Microsoft. It may not be so great for Nokia.
Yeah, you may be right. This may be the best news maybe for Microsoft in this earnings report because they need Nokia to at least be stable and survive to push that operating system out there if they have a hope of it catching on wider. But that may mean Nokia doesn't ever catch on and become a Samsung level business again, like it had been in the past. They actually said they made their last Symbian phone. So, almost all the eggs are now in the Windows Phone basket there. We were playing around a little bit before the show with Twitter's new video app, Vine. Ayaz, tell us a little more about this.
Right. So Twitter CEO Dick Costolo posted a video using the Vine app. I think it was like either yesterday or this morning. And then Costolo posted a 6-second video of steak tartare being prepared. And this was just a teaser. It turns out later that morning, Twitter introduced Vine officially. The app's right now, it's only for iOS, iPhone, and iPod Touch. No iPad-specific app. The video autoplays without audio and appears within the body of an embedded tweet. There's no Twitter branding on the video, and if you right-click it, you can see controls on it, but otherwise, the video just loops. After you make a Vine vid, you can post it on Vine, Twitter, and or Facebook. We actually got the app. I don't know if is it running on AirPlay, Jason?
I do. Here we go.
So we can show, this is my test this morning, but I'm going to make a Vine video right now. What you do is you put your finger to the screen, and then that starts recording. On the top, you'll see a bar start increasing. You'll see that blue. I'm saying things. And then we're going to show Jason. Yeah! There's Jason. Oh, yeah! And there's Bert opening a box. And then I can say that's enough because I have at most 6 seconds. I hit OK.
I'm famous.
You are famous,
I'm on
Jason.
Vine.
You can add a caption. Caption of fun. Okay? And then you can do your locations, Twitter, Facebook, like I said. Hit done. And it posts it on your Twitter stream if you want. Again, that's an option. You don't have to post it on Twitter if you don't want to. It seems pretty easy. Danny, you were playing around with this. A looping 6-second auto-playing mute video. Is this the method to get people to share quick mobile videos, or is this just like a little weird thing for now?
Well, my two boys are going to instantly be wanting to use this for stop video. That's what I was doing. I had two figurines. I was moving them around, and it was poor, but, it worked. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd feel better if there was a little bit of audio with it. I'll be interested to see how it goes. But then, I don't quite get Snapchat and poke myself. But
you can unmute
those crazy kids.
You can turn the audio on. It's just by default the audio is turned off. That way, when you're scrolling in Vine, you're not getting inundated with a bunch of noise. Yeah, and there it goes. It just loops like that.
Oh, that's magical.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know, Tom, you love things like this. Is this exciting you right now watching this?
Yeah, actually, I will accept all the criticisms that have been levied against this as absolutely valid. But for some reason, I've been playing around with this thing today. I even made a video of you making your Vine video.
Very meta.
There's something fascinating about it, and I can't put my thumb on what it actually is. It's maybe it's that limitation of 6 seconds. It's really easy to stop and start, so you don't have to think about editing or anything. You're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I get how this works. I have a feeling, I have a very strong feeling that the novelty will wear off shortly for me, and I may never go back to it. But this is the 4th one I've made today. It's kind of like snacks.
Now, my upload did fail. I did reloaded it. It actually uploaded at this point. Vine is getting hit, by the way. So when you go to the site or you're trying to scroll through videos, I've seen issues with loading and things like that. So I don't know if they're not ready for this launch today or not.
One of the I think one of the nice things that it does do is that, Twitter is unique in that you don't just, you have to think about what you're going to tweet, and you have to be short, you have to be to the point. And I've been to a lot of places where I've shot 30 seconds of video or a minute of video, and then, you're trying to upload it, and I can send it off to YouTube, or I can, try to do it with Facebook. And it's even with LTE, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. This might cause people to say, yeah, I do want to share some video, and I'm going to think about exactly what I want to kind of capture real quick. And, maybe this is a really good fit in with the sort of whole Twitter mentality. I guess I kind of like to see them have, 7 seconds or something that somehow is a multiple into 140. The 6 feels odd. I suppose you can do the division and it makes sense with it somewhere like that. Maybe 14 seconds.
There's a numerology in there, yeah.
I think 6 seconds might be short enough that you can't really have a bad video. It's almost like an animated GIF at some point, because you're just like, well, I saw it, and that was only 6 seconds of my whole life, and all right. And the other thing is, I think it really protects from bad video, because you're only taking quick clips. You don't have to go into an editor and choose which ones. I mean, this app is pretty limited. You can only shoot video from it. It's not like you can import video, cut it, and put it in. So it's I think it might be surprisingly as useful as Instagram. That's what I'll say.
I'll have to explore it more, though, because there are times I think I'm going to not want that loop.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of the animated GIF feel to it, or GIF. I
think people are hitting it right now because I cannot load anything on Vine. Right.
I was able to use mine, so that's interesting.
There it goes.
I wonder if
maybe it's the network here.
It's load balanced. I get why it's fun to play with, and I think people are going to play with it. Obviously, a lot of people are playing with it today. I don't know if it becomes an Instagram for video. It's definitely not Twitter's video replacement, right? I mean, people want to take little home videos that are longer than 6 seconds. This is a different thing. And I get the feeling from it that maybe that's okay. Maybe that it is a different kind of thing enough that it doesn't have to be a replacement for TwitVid or some sort of actual YouTube, like you were talking about before the show, YouTube Instant, where you record something and upload it straight to YouTube and then you can share it. I think in that way, maybe the 6 seconds is smart. It separates it and says, this is just for vignettes. It's for fun things. It's an entirely new way of using video to share stuff.
I'm still playing with this, so I should really I should continue with the show. So it's working. Congratulations, Vine.
Yeah, it's working on iOS for sure. All right, we got one more earnings story to kick around today, and it's a good news one again. Netflix just really beating up expectations.
Yeah, they now have 27.15 million subscribers in the U.S. That's an increase of 2 million customers in the U.S. since the third quarter. Net income was 7.9 million. Analysts were expecting a loss. Shares jumped up, like Tom mentioned, more than 30% in after-hours trading. Netflix added nearly 2 million subscribers in other countries. And so, of course, there was the obligatory call with Reed Hastings, and he was asked about the company's reputation and had it fully recovered after its whole 2011 year. He says, we're on probation at this point, but we're not out of jail. And he also says he wants to make it really easy to quit Netflix. He says that if the exit door is well marked, subscribers were more likely to come back. And so the question is really whether Netflix can keep adding subscribers while its content costs go up, because they've gone to original programming like House of Cards and Arrested Development. Danny, do you think shows like that are going to attract enough of a subscriber base for Netflix to keep growing?
Oh, Arrested Development will have me there. that alone. Yeah, I think if they do have some unique things that will keep people going. I mean, I think I'm paying like $7 a month. I can buy it on my own. I can switch it on and off if I want to. You've seen so many people talk about the idea that I would totally pay for HBO if I could just buy it on its own. Well, if Netflix can start building up, various series over time, sure, that certainly could be a prospect. I know in my own mind, it's funny. We watch so much stuff through Roku, and we tend to view Roku has a channel store, and we really do view Netflix as one of our channels. Or we're going to watch something that's on Netflix, we're watching something on Amazon Video, or we're watching something that'll be out on Hulu. I think they also have a strength in that you do have this thing where people want to catch up on different television shows that they haven't seen, and they do get them. And we've been going through like a Parks and Rec marathon over the past 3 weeks and never watched the show, and now we're up to like show 52 and having a great time. Every night we're watching 2 or 3 episodes, and we didn't buy the DVD set for it, but we're getting to watch the whole thing. It's well worth the $7 in that regard. So I think they do have a lot of upsides to it. I just wish the movie selection wasn't so dire on a Friday night.
Yeah, and that's something where I think Netflix has been wise in 2 areas. One is making it available easily in as many places as possible. They've been doing that since the beginning, so that you're never like, oh, I would like to use Netflix, but how? It's never a problem, to no matter what device you have practically, to access your subscription. And the other thing was supplementing that lack of movie content with a ton of television content. And that's why people think about Netflix. They don't think about it for movies as much anymore. You think about it for like, oh, I'm going to watch some old Futuramas. That's what I've been watching on Netflix recently. But I used it to catch up on lots of shows, and that's kind of its go-to now. So if House of Cards becomes a hit, if Arrested Development is well received, which I'm like you, Danny, I'm excited about that, then you'll start to think about it as a place that you have to have because you want to see this stuff. And then that Disney deal kicks in a year. Suddenly they start adding movies. I think the growth prospects are pretty good here.
Is anyone curious about the way Netflix is going to be pushing these things out? You're going to get a whole season of House of Cards, a whole season of Arrested Development. You could probably get a 30-day free trial for Netflix and watch the whole thing in a day. Is that going to keep subscribers, or is that just going to get like these little spurts of subscribers to come showing up when these shows show up? So I don't know if it's going to cause people to have a subscription based on its current or its new model. This is a totally different model.
You could do that now. I mean, like, it occurs to me all the time that it's really easy to put your Netflix account on hold and just turn it off and then turn it on when you want it again. And I never do that because I've gone like, a month, oh, we haven't watched anything on Netflix. And I think, oh, yeah, I suppose I should have paused it. And it's like, well, it was $7. And by the time I thought about it, I was back in there for something else that was hitting already. So I'm sure that they will get some of that. But, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for them. What I do wonder, though, is if they'll ever move towards the idea of trying to sell you content within it, because that's one thing that they lack that something like iTunes or Amazon or Google have, that if you've actually bought something and then it's there, you kind of maybe want to keep it going or heading back, or you don't want to give up your account at the very least. And, right now, somebody uses Netflix for 30 days, decides it wasn't for me, sure, they can turn it all off, but they don't have any need or reason particularly that they may want to go back again if they just for whatever reason didn't like it and they don't like some of the new stuff that's coming out.
It's interesting that you say that because I always have Hulu in a pause until I absolutely need it. And I almost never need it because I can watch most of the stuff online for free without having to have the subscription. And it makes me actually avoid using Hulu on mobile devices. So I don't want to take my subscription off pause. I'll just find another way to watch it. Netflix, because it's so easy, because it's everywhere, and because I'm not paying any extra, I never run into a month where I'm thinking, nah, I should have put Netflix on pause because we didn't use it pretty consistently. And of course, that's just one data point, obviously. Amazon has got the most brilliant one, though, right? With their streaming, you also get free shipping. So you're never going to want to put it on pause because you're like, well, I can still take advantage of the free shipping, even if I'm not watching the video.
Well, it was great because Amazon is really compelling. I got my sister a Kindle, and then I was over there showing her how it all worked and everything like that. And I was like, well, she's like, oh, can I get free books or how does that work? And I said, well, are you Amazon Prime? She's like, well, no, I'm not Prime. What is Prime? And I started out saying, well, if you buy things from Amazon, it's like free shipping for $80. That's pretty good if you buy a lot, right? And right there, I easily pay for Prime with the shipping, right? I'm done like a month into the year, maybe 2. And then I was like, well, yeah, but then, you're also going to be able to check out a book. So that's, once a month. So, there's actually some pretty good books in there that you can get. So I suppose, if you're actually reading a book every month or two, maybe that's kind of paying for it. And then I was like, and you got your laptop so you can get Prime, and then they've got the TV shows, and they have a ton of content over there. And by the time I got done with it, I was like, why are you not on Prime? That's like a no-brainer. And then the challenge, though, really becomes, if you're on Prime, why are you on Netflix? And, the answer is that Netflix still has a few things that Prime doesn't have. What I like about both of them, though, is just no ads. That still annoys me with Hulu. I gave you my $7 a month, and you're still shoving the ads at me. Hate you.
Yeah, I hate that too. All right, let's finish up with Google Image Desktop Search getting tweaked to be more like the tablet version. Last time I checked, I hadn't got this, but it's rolling out over the next few days to everybody. What'll happen, Danny Sullivan, you wrote the article on this, so you click on an image, brings up the larger version in a central preview area. If you've used a tablet version, you know how this works. But instead of taking you to the source, Google said it has increased the number of ways to click through to the source, which does two things. They say in their tests, it increases click-through to the site that originated the image, but also it stops phantom page views when you have that page load behind the image, but you're really not using the site. I actually like the way the image search works on desktop, but maybe I'm just stuck in my ways. Do you like this change, Danny?
Well, I haven't had a chance to play with it either because, like you, I'm waiting for it to actually get rolled out. So they seem to be a bit behind on making that happen. I potentially like it. It can be a pain when you want to go to one image and then maybe get a closer look that you have to do all this clicking and shutting and clicking and shutting. So I think in action, it probably will be nice that you can just sort of click on one image and see the sort of larger preview. So, if you're looking for images, I think that's a plus. What is interesting, though, is I think it makes it even more obvious that Google Images is a tool for finding images that Google doesn't own. And, that's the way image search has always been, and that's the way people have always used image search, which is I need to find an image, so let me just go help myself onto the web. Sorry about that, publishers. But not only does it make it more easy for people to do that, but it puts the publisher's site even further behind. I mean, in the old system, if you click to learn more about that image, you at least saw the actual page it was coming from, and you could click through to that, and maybe you would do the right thing. Google's argument is, well, we've got all these new links, and it's actually going to increase everything. We'll see. It's hard to see how that's increasing people going to the publisher site when you're not actually seeing the site with it from there. I think what I would like is maybe if Google, at the very least, made it more prominent when they got that big space next to the image preview where they're like saying the file name and there's some metadata. And it's like, how about a big notice, by the way, like, check with the publisher for the copyright or something like that. So.
Yeah, I would like to be able to filter by, say, Creative Commons license or something like that, because I stopped using Google Image Search when I need to use an image a long time ago because of that. I use it now to say, like, what does that look like? Sometimes I prefer that iPad thing if I want to see multiple pictures of something, like multiple angles, because it's easy to flip through. I do like seeing the context of it in the background. I understand why a publisher might not like that so much. Ayaz, how does this strike you?
Well, I mean, if you want to look for Creative Commons things on Google, I think it's under the advanced search. It's in there somewhere. I think Yahoo made it really easy lately with their left-hand rail. But I really like the tablet interface when it comes to this. Maybe because, excuse me, because I like to just, when I'm designing something or I'm figuring out some kind of project, I want to see different views and angles on things, like you're saying, Tom. I don't necessarily need content for a website. I just need to figure out how something looks in all dimensions. And so being able to scroll through a whole bunch, instead of having to go to, like, I will literally do this. I will go away from my laptop to my tablet just to get that interface to work. Well, I know you can do this with the user agent and things, but I like using my tablet for that. And I think this is just kind of the way Google's going. They want to make sure that their interface is consistent. I mean, they've been doing that everywhere when it comes to their properties. Why not do it with image search?
All right, let's finish up with, dude, you're getting a randomizer. Actually, it kind of takes me back to the Tech TV days. If anybody saw the end of Attack of the Show on G4, they finished up with a special ending homage, nod of the hat to Tech TV. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. You got to go search it out. But the Dell dude, Ben Curtis, if you remember him, he was what was his official name? Slacker something, Slacker Steve. Dude, you're getting a Dell. You got to remember this. He's saying, look, I think they're making a huge mistake and simply need to bring back the Dell dude. That's it. That's all they need to do. If they brought me back, their sales, stock, and media presence would skyrocket. That is by far the smartest move they could make. Probably the smartest move they could make for Ben Curtis. Do we think that this would actually help Dell?
Dude.
I think our laughter is saying that no, it wouldn't. The thing about Dell is that they haven't really been consumer facing in a very long time. They're really enterprise focused at this point. I mean, when you're looking at these old ads, you're seeing Dell Dimension desktops. I mean, how many people buy desktops these days? They go with tablets or they buy a laptop. They go with portable or their phones. I don't know the last time I bought a desktop was 2008 or so. So I don't know how other people buy desktops.
I'm trying to decide if that's the woman who played Shannon in Lost in the car with him in that commercial. So, I think that what Dell needs is a better product line. Slacker Steve making a comeback would certainly get them some attention, but they need something for him to tell you you're going to get.
Well, didn't they have that awesome Adamo line or something, like these really slick, thin laptops, and they sent out all these teaser videos, and then it was just so overpriced, and it was underpowered. It was like an Apple product.
Well, I mean, I'll say in general, I've been feeling overwhelmed by the product lines from all of them. When Windows 8 came out, I thought, great. I want to go out. I want a Windows 8 laptop. And I want one of the convertible laptops. I think that'll be great because then I'll be able to, flip it around and turn it into a tablet. And I spent a lot of time looking at all the different options, all the different manufacturers' websites. I ended up with a Lenovo, I'm pointing, you can't see it, but a Lenovo Yoga, only to find out that when you're using Windows 8 in desktop mode and you turn it into a laptop, into a tablet, you don't get an on-screen keyboard. It's a bad thing. But the thing that I took more away from was I was just overwhelmed. I want a laptop from Apple. It is really easy. Do you want an Air or do you want a Pro? That's pretty much it. What size screen do you want? And I understand what they are. I'm going over to I don't know where it was, like Samsung. I'm like, what's the S3? What's the S7? What's the S9? What's this? What's the difference between that? How's this? How's that going on? I don't want to have to get a spreadsheet out to figure out what it are the different products that you're offering. Lenovo with the same thing. I'm like, what's the Yoga? What's the ThinkPad? What's this thing offering to me? What's that thing offering there? And I don't know which is your flagship one. I don't know why that would go for this or I would go for that. And so when I get over to Dell, it was the same sort of thing where it's like, okay, I guess if I'm a gamer, I want this laptop, but then you've got these other kind of laptops over here. And, that's before I even get into the desktop situation. So, dude, I need more simpler options because it makes my head hurt.
Yes,
that's
exactly
my solution.
There's the new marketing slogan right there. All right. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Sarah Lane still taking a day off. She had a car accident. She's okay. Pretty bad headache. Hopefully we'll have her back tomorrow. But in the meantime, Ayaz, can you fill in for the calendar?
Sure. I'll try to do my best. Tomorrow, Friday, January 25th, SimCity Beta kicks off. On Saturday, January 26th, unlocking your own cell phone without carrier permission becomes illegal in the United States. And way in the future, on April 19th, the Steve Jobs biopic Jobs, starring Ashton Kutcher, opens in theaters.
Did anybody see the clip that they showed on Entertainment Tonight?
No.
I watched the video. It's not bad. It's Steve Jobs trying to convince Steve Wozniak that they should turn his operating system into a product, and Woz is sort of like, I don't know, nobody really cares about this stuff. And other than sort of implying that Woz coined the term operating system, which I'm pretty sure isn't true, it wasn't bad. I bought that Ashton Kutcher was pretty Steve Jobs-like.
Who's Woz? Who's playing Woz?
I can't remember the guy's name now.
Josh Gad.
Josh Gad. Yeah.
I believe that's who it is.
All right, let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We got a message all the way from Canada, from Marty. It says, "Hey TNT crew, I wanted to comment my thoughts on Intel ramping down their motherboard production. This honestly concerns me for the desktop tower industry. Intel was one of the higher-end manufacturers of premium motherboards, and this is really bad news for the desktop market. On top of everything else, we keep hearing about the desktop market slowing down. It seems that these manufacturers keep trying to lower their cost in the mobile space, making laptops and ultrabooks even more affordable to the average user, while forgetting that they still make products for the high-end power user. I'm not referencing gamers. I work in an industry where we need a lot of high-end 3D modeling and rendering machines, and you just can't achieve that amount of power for the price of a laptop. I hope we don't see the desktop market completely dying off in favor of these consumer-friendly, cheap alternatives.
Most of the people that I know who follow this really closely, like the guys at Twitch, they speak pretty highly of the Gigabyte motherboards. Opinions are going to vary, obviously, but I don't think this means a decline in the desktop market per se. In fact, some people even are like, who uses Intel motherboards? I always buy third party anyway. So it's a matter of taste, obviously, but there's going to be plenty of motherboard manufacturers out there for years to come. Also got an email from Steven, the graphic artist, who says, as an employee in the marketing department of a medium-sized home improvement chain, I can honestly say coupons are some of the most anxiety-causing promotional tools ever invented. Now, obvious mistakes aside, like in the case of Best Buy, when creating the coupon, you have to imagine every way a consumer is going to try to take full advantage of the restrictions and unintentional loopholes. It can make you turn bitter towards your customer base. This stress is compounded when the higher-ups want to quickly enact a promotion, and there just isn't time to properly proofread the small type. I imagine this is what happened at Best Buy. The strange thing is that the legals at MasterCard didn't catch anything. I deal with credit card companies a lot, and they normally have eyes that eagles would be jealous of. I just feel sorry for the poor person who put that coupon up on the website. I can't imagine they're having a very good week. Well said, and definitely surprising that the legal eagles at a credit card company would let the slip, but maybe they didn't get passed by their eagle eyes. I don't know. That brings us to the end of Tech News Today. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. And Danny Sullivan, let me give you a proper outro at least. Apologies for that. I just got so excited about Apple earnings. Let us know about what you guys are up to over at Search Engine Land, where people can follow you online, anything you want to talk about.
Sure. If you're trying to keep up with search engines and search marketing, Search Engine Land has all the news every day that's going on there. And if you're looking more broadly for internet marketing news and things that are happening in that space, then we have a sister site called Marketing Land. So check them out. We've got lots of stuff going on. We just posted the story about Yandex having a voice search application. So everyone's getting voice search now these days. So it'll be cool. Just imagine if we could redo Star Trek 4, Scotty would be speaking into his iPhone or Android or Yandex phone or whatever, saying "computer on."
When he came back in time on the Whales movie, it would have.
He picked up that mouse. Computer on.
All right, that's it for us. TechNewsToday.reddit.com, the place to find all our subreddit submissions. You can be lazy and just go in there and vote on the things other people have submitted. There's so many good submissions in there. Or if you have a particular article you want to make sure we take a look at, submit it there as well. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. That's where all our episodes are and our links to our show notes. And of course, you can call us. 260-TNT-SHOW is the phone number, and send us an email. TNT@twit.tv is the email address. We'll be back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen, and hopefully Sarah Lane will be back. We'll see you then.